Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tosin for those that are new here. Today is Sunday and I literally got back from church. It's just a little bit past 2 p.m. and I just took off my dress. My daughter is sleeping, popped up this top, tied my scarf, and I'm like, let me just do this video. For those that are new here, this scarf does not connote anything. I just could not be bothered to be trying to ensure that my hair looks nice. So I just popped the scarf on my hair. The last time I did a Bible study, I think was on the life of Samson. And I think I might have mentioned in that video that, there's so many biblical accounts that I have read as a younger, child. And when I became an adult and I started rereading them, there's so many insights that I could now understand. And also maybe I would say glean or infer on the lessons that were shared then that I could not do appropriately as a child. So basically, the Bible stories that I learned when I was in primary school could only give me the storyline, the accounts, because they are real events that actually happen. But now as an adult, I can actually apply them to my own daily life and also learn from them. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the Shunammite woman. I'm not sure if that's the correct pronunciation, but based on the spelling, that's what I think it is, a Shunammite woman, because she was a woman from Shunem. So in this video, I am going to be using the word story, account, testament interchangeably. Not because either negates the other. It's just so that you can understand that the things that we're reading in scriptures are not just some fairy tale stories. It's not like Cinderella that never happened. These are real accounts written and published. The account of the Shunammite woman is from 2 Kings chapter 4. I'm going to start from I think verses 8. I have my phone here. I would also recommend that you have your phone and you can read it as well. It's from all the way from verse 8 to 38. So now you can decide to watch this video, then go to read it at your own personal time, or as I'm reading it and referring on the lines and explaining what I learned, maybe paragraph by paragraph, you can decide to carry your own Bible. I'll do my best to also put it on the screen. I'll do my best. You guys, my editing these days is taking me so much longer, but I'm really enjoying that you guys are noticing the feedback as well. So as I always say, this is a Bible study for you, not just to take my own lessons and ingest, but also to see in your own personal life if these lessons can apply to you. And also when you study your own Bible, maybe you can even get a different interpretation or a different rema, that's the word, the revelation from whatever you're reading. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. So basically the pretext of this one that we're reading, of this scripture that we're reading, talks about some of the, I won't say the great works of God through Prophet Elisha. You guys remember Prophet Elisha in the Bible? So Elisha and Elijah, a lot of people mix them up, but Elisha and Elijah. Elisha is the one that had the servant named Gehazi. This is another amazing biblical account. We might actually even do a Bible study on Gehazi and how he ended up his life and the lessons that I learned from, because I read that a while back, but recently God has been refreshing my knowledge with the life of Gehazi. So 2 Kings chapter 4, Elisha raises the Shunammite woman's son. But let's start from the story of the Shunammite woman. So verse 8. Now it happened one day that Elisha went to Shunem, where there was a notable woman, some other translations say wealthy, and she persuaded him to eat some food. So it was, as often as he passed by, he would turn in there to eat some food. And she said to her husband, "Look now, I know that this is a holy man of God who passes by us regularly. Please let us make a small upper room on the wall, and let us put a bed for him there, a table and a chair and a lampstand. So it will be whenever he comes to us, he can turn in there." 11. And it happened one day that he came there, and he turned into the upper room and laid there. Then he said to Gehazi his servant, "Call the Shunammite woman." When he called her, he stood before him, and he said to him, "Say to her, look, you've been concerned for us and with all this care. What can I do for you? Do you want me to speak on your behalf to the king or to the commander of the army?" She answered, "I dwell amongst my own people." So he said, "What then is to be done for her?" Then Gehazi, that's his servant, answered and said, "Actually, she has no son, and her husband is old." So he called her. And when he had called her, she stood in the doorway. And then he said, "About this time next year, you shall embrace a son." And she said, "No, my lord, man of God, do not lie to your maidservant." But the woman conceived and bore a son. And when the appointed time had come, of which Elisha had told her, the child grew. Now it happened one day that he went out with his father, that's this child now, and he said to his father, my head. So he said to the servant, "Carry him to his mother." When he had, verse 20 now, when he had taken him and brought him to his mother, he sat on her knees till noon and then died. She went up and laid him on the bed of the man of God and shut the door upon him and went out. Then she called to her husband and said, please send me one of your young men and one of the donkeys, that I may run to the man of God and come back. So he said, why are you going today? It is neither new moon nor Sabbath. And she said, it is well. Then she saddled the donkey and said to her servant, drive and go forward. Do not slacken the pace for me unless I tell you. So she departed and went to the man of God at Mount Carmel. So it was, when the man of God saw her afar off, and he said to his servant Gehazi, look, the Shunammite woman, please run to her to meet her and say, is it well with you? Is it well with your husband? And is it well with your child? And she answered, it is well. 27. Now when she came to the man of God to the hill, she caught him by the feet, but Gehazi came near to push her away. But the man of God said, let her alone, for her soul is in deep distress, and the Lord had hidden it from me. He had not told me. So she said, did I ask a son of my Lord? Did I not say, do not deceive me? Then he said to Gehazi, get yourself ready, and take my staff in your hand, and be on your way. If you meet anyone, do not greet them. If anyone greets you, do not answer him, but lay my staff on the face of the child. And the mother of the child said, as Lord lives, and as your soul lives, I will not leave you. So he arose and followed her. Now Gehazi went ahead of them, and laid the staff on the face of the child, but there was neither voice nor hearing. Therefore he went back to meet him, and told him, saying, the child had not awakened. When Elisha came into the house, there was the child, lying dead on his bed. He went in therefore, shut the door behind the two of them, and prayed to the Lord. And he went up and laid on the child, put a mouth on the mouth, eyes on his eyes, hands on his hands, and stretched himself out on the child. And the flesh of the child became warm. He returned and walked back and forth in the house, and again went up and stretched himself out on him. Then the child sneezed 7 times, and the child opened his eyes. And he called Gehazi and said, call this Shunammite woman. So he called her, and she came in to him, and he said, pick up your son. So she went in, fell at his feet, and bowed to the ground. She picked up her son and went out. So that's the end of the Shunammite woman story. So it's from verse 8 to 37. This account is so simple, but so many salient lessons. The first thing I want to say before I carry on is that a lot of things that we as believers say today, like saying it's not my portion, like when something is not your portion, it's from scriptures. When you say things like, maybe say you hear bad news or you hear an unpleasant news and you feel like, it is well. It's actually from the story of the Shunammite woman, which we're going to explore further as I'm doing this video. So the first thing that we can see from the life of the Shunammite woman, as scriptures have told us, is that this woman was a notable, a wealthy. In fact, Amplified says that she was an influential woman. So I want you to imagine like a woman in your city that maybe she's like very wealthy, or maybe she even has political appointments or something. Just someone that is extremely wealthy, notable. And she was married, right? It's not like I say she was like the widow in the previous I think you remember the woman with the Elisha and the pot of oil and all of that. Not like as she was a widow. Her husband did not present her husband like he was poor either. So this was a woman that was well off and was married. Now the Bible did not say that she did not have other children. It did not say she did not have a son. So it's possible that maybe she had all girls, or she even had no child. It's possible. So you can't take from scriptures what has not been said. You see what I'm saying? So what the first lesson I noticed from this woman is that this is someone that was well established. So it's very good for you to be doing well as a woman, and be empowered and be so notable that you can actually give help. Which leads me to my second point, is that this woman identified a need and spotted it. Elisha usually passes the city of Shunem, and what does she do? She usually hosts him, she calls him in, and she gives him food and all of that. Then what else did she do again? That hospitality that she had, she didn't just end it there. She actually discussed with her husband, which is another lesson that I learned. Sometimes as a woman, you might be so on fire for God, you might be so excited about the things of God, that you go and make decisions out of informing your husband. I'm careful of the words I'm using. I don't want to say consent as such, without telling your husband about it, and you two of you will not agree in unison, or agree as a couple, so that you can actually do that decision. And this is very important. And in case men are watching, don't think it's just a woman thing. If you're a man as well, and maybe God has laid a desire or a help upon your heart, it's always good to inform your spouse. And I'll give you a good scenario. So for instance, maybe God has blessed you with a bigger car, and maybe you only have 2 kids, and you can actually carry 2 more church members. It's always good to actually inform your spouse and say, you know what, babe, God has blessed us with a car that can carry 5 people. Let's start, helping people after church, to go home. It might seem so simple, but just that telling your spouse about it actually goes a long way in even you doing that hospitable acts that you want to do. It actually goes a longer way. sometimes you actually end up doing a noble thing, but because you have not gone through the due process of informing your spouse, it might actually frustrate the humanitarian efforts that you're trying to do. So that's one. This woman actually called her husband aside, and she told her husband that, this man goes back and forth through the city. Instead of us just feeding him, perhaps let's prepare a room in our house, somewhere in the upper room. Not just prepare the room, we make him comfortable. You put a bed, a chair, a table, and a lamp as well. And I find this very, as I said, these lessons are so salient, but if your heart is open towards good, taking on good virtues, there's so much to pick from the life of this woman. It's not just enough to only say, okay, come and visit me. That extra hospitality, that's saying, putting yourself in the shoes of the user, or putting yourself in the shoes of your guest, or saying, God has blessed me with a 4-bedroom house in this city. There are so many international students, this is an example now, that do not have a place to stay. Why don't I start a program, my own personal self, nobody needs to know about it. Every new student that comes and their family, I host them for a month. And then after a month, they can move on. But I let them know when they come that, okay, this is a rotation thing. Just a month for you to settle in so that you don't pay rent, you find a job and all of that. And then you go. Do you know in the course of maybe say 5 years, you know how many lives you have touched? Just by doing that one single act that you put yourself, and not just give them a space in your house. Maybe, as I said, you put a bed, just like this woman. You put a bed, you put a table, you put a chair, you put a lamp. Everything, you do a welcome basket for them. You put towels, toiletries, everything that that it would make their life, easier. Like as if, it is your own blood brother that you are looking after for. So this Shunammite woman not only identified the need, she went out of her way to ensure that Prophet Elisha was comfortable. So that's the first lesson. Now, the second lesson is how, sometimes when you offer help to people, it's not just that you offer the help. You don't actually know if that help that you're offering out of the innocence and benevolence of your heart is actually a key to answer prayers. This woman, the Bible did not say that she had been waiting on the Lord for a child. So we're not going to say that. The Bible did not say that she had been waiting or trusting God for a son. No, but because she was so good to this prophet called her and said, you know what, do you need anything? Do you want me to talk to the king for you? Do you want me to talk to the commander of chief, for instance, chief of staff? And she was like, oh no, I dwell amongst my own people. As I said, this one was a boss babe. She was an influential person. But then Gehazi, who was the servant, was the one that noticed and said, my lord, this woman has said she lives amongst her own people, but she does not have a son. So sometimes we might even not be, sometimes in church, maybe they'll say, everybody that came out to this service today, quickly write your prayer points. Sometimes you might not even, you might be like, I've been so blessed by God. You might just write, okay, God, increase me financially, or promote me, or give me protection. But there are some needs that maybe because God has blessed us in so many ways that we never even realized that we needed. I know that, something as great as a child might have been a need for the woman, but the Bible did not say that it was a need. It was Gehazi that noticed. So sometimes, even when you're being benevolent to other people, is that person and say that, Shola, you're always so kind to me, you do so many things for me, or you've been so, since I came to this church, you've been so kind to me. But I noticed that you're students, do you have a laptop that you're using? And they'll be like, oh no, actually my laptop just spoiled. And the person will be like, okay, I'll buy you a new laptop for your birthday. You never even thought to ask. So sometimes answered prayers is actually come as a result of us opening up ourselves to help other people. Just as I said, as I was studying the life of this woman, this is a long time ago that I studied. I'm reading it again and I'm sharing it with you. More insights and even more lessons that I hope to take on in my own personal life is also being ministered to my heart. And then, the Bible said that her husband was already old, but they did not say her age. I don't know if it was like maybe 30-year gap in her and her husband. I don't know if it was a 5-year gap. But if they said that her husband was already getting old, maybe she was a bit older. Maybe not as old as Sarah. But why I also think that she might also be in the age group of her husband was because when Prophet Elisha prophesied to her and said, you're going to have a son by this time next year, the lady said, please do not deceive me, my servants. Like you sure you didn't wind me? Literally, like you can put that into the context. Like, are you winding me up? Like, no, and everything. But the Bible said, but she actually did conceive. So, the prophecy came to pass. That's why it's also not good to also, despise prophecy. When someone says that, even when it seems bleak, by this time next year, you will be the head of so department. You might be like me, I'm still a junior staff. But times and seasons can change. Is that the same way in the Bible when they prophesied that by this time tomorrow, the currency is going to drop and, so many things is going to happen? It actually did happen. So this prophet Elisha, even though she knew he was a man of God, prophesied to her, and she still actually did say, please do not deceive me. But she did get pregnant. So now the next part of the biblical account, the child has now grown up. And then there was a day that the child was, spending time with his father out. And what happened to the child? The child screamed that his head was hurting. Or my head, as scriptures put it. And he sent the child back home to the mother. And the Bible said that the mother nursed the child, like she spent time with the child up until noontime. And the child now passed away. Another thing we can also infer from that part was that the Bible says she put the baby on her, not the baby, the child. For a child to be speaking, we don't know if it's toddler age or preteen, we don't know, but she actually did put the child on her lap. So that loving nature also was expressed, even though in one line. And she put the child on her lap, and the child did pass away. And the Bible did not say that this woman screamed. The Bible did not say that this woman was hysterical. And this is such is the word pregnant a very strong lesson for me, is that something as heartbreaking as a child dying, hey, to not even be me and you's portion in Jesus' name. But the Bible said she carried the child and just laid him on Elisha's bed. I don't know if this woman had so much faith in the God of Elisha, or she herself was a believer, or she herself just think that this is not my portion. My child cannot die, so this is a joke. I'm going to put this child, because I was on my own. She did say that I did not ask, which we'll get to. She was on her own, which the prophecy was given to her that she was going to be a mother of a son. And she went and carried this child, and she put the child on the bed of Elisha. Now, another thing the Bible also talks about is that she actually told her husband that, please give me one of your men and, horses and whatnot, and I want to go and see Elisha. And the husband said that, oh, today is not a special day, not a Sabbath, I hope everything is okay. And she was like, it is well. And this is where a lot of Christians actually say it is well when they are faced with very, very heartbreaking situations. Even when, in fact, one of the lessons I also learned from, and I'm going to relate this now, is from, I think, when Abraham had to offer up Isaac, how he could still hear from God, and God told him that he should not kill his son, and there was a burnt offering, or an animal there to be used for a burnt offering. The fact that even in despair, Abraham was still able to hear God. So those are some of the things that I'm learning also on my walk with a child of God, that even when things are not going good, even when the physical thing that you are seeing is like all hope has been lost, still professing, still having a heart that can still hear from God, still having a mouth that you are actually speaking it is well over the situation. God is in control. Even some cases that seem irredeemable, like death. And even if the person doesn't even get, healed, and the person doesn't jack back to life, like the case of this woman's son, you still know that, all things work together for good for they that love the Lord and have been called according to his purpose. So you say it is well. So she said it is well. Then she went on. And from afar off, because this woman is such a great lady, based on everything that we've shared about her, as soon as, they saw her coming, Elisha saw her and said, you know what, Gehazi, go and meet that woman ahead. That's the Shunammite woman coming. Ask her if everything is well with herself, her husband, and her child. And now I even look back. If she had more children, wouldn't Elisha have said, is everything well with her children? He said her child. So it's possible she did not even have any child. It's possible. Or maybe he only asked that because, that was the son that he prayed for or prophesied for. So maybe so let's not misquote. Let's just say what we think. But I just thought about that. He said, is everything well with your child? He didn't say children. And Gehazi went ahead and she repeated the statement, it is well. So as soon as she got to Elisha, she grabbed his feet. That's when the emotions now broke, through. She grabbed his feet and said, I was on my own. You are the one that came to come and tell me that, I'm going to have a child. Elijah now said, okay. He told Gehazi to go ahead of him and gave him his staff and said, on your way with this staff, nobody must talk to you. You must not talk to anybody. And I see maybe this is why a lot of, even when you watch some Nigerian movies and they want to depict, when someone is going to carry, maybe like a, what would I call it? Like a sacrifice. All these things are not scriptural, but you can see maybe some of them, they even inferred from all these things, like nobody must not talk to anybody, anybody must not talk to you. If anybody should greet you, don't answer. So Gehazi's servants, Elisha's servant Gehazi took the staff and went and laid it on the child, but nothing happened. So obviously Elisha was already coming with the woman. The woman told Elisha that I'm not leaving you. Me and you are going to be here together until something happens. And two of them went together, and he went to the woman's house and he shut the door behind himself and the child. So that was two of them. And he put his hand on the child, put his mouth, put his eyes. And even maybe God has even called you to the ministry of healing. You could even see that Elisha actually shut his door. Perhaps maybe if Jesus did perform miracles in public, you know, but I even remember that there was a man in the Bible that Jesus healed, that Jesus first of all took him out of the city before he healed him. So sometimes, you know, as the Spirit leads anyway, there was a reason why he shut the door. Maybe he didn't want people to see. Maybe they saw, if you see a prophet kissing your child, putting mouth to mouth, maybe you might be like, this one is not in Bible. You know, why are you doing this? But then Elisha actually did that, and the child's body became warm. They did not say that the child jacked back to life. So this is after Elisha had shut the door, prayed to God, because the Bible said he did pray, and then he laid himself on the child, and then the child's body just became warm. Nothing happened. But then what did Elisha do? Elisha walked back and forth the house. We don't know the spiritual implication of that. Maybe he was humming, maybe he was praying, maybe it was just an exercise, just the same way we don't know why Naaman had to dip himself in the river 7 times. We don't know. We don't know why Naaman did not get healed at the first dip and he had to be dipped several times. We don't know why. Elijah walked back and forth the house, went back into the room, stretched himself on the child again, and then the Bible said the child sneezed 7 times. You see, this numbers, we don't know why they sneezed 7 times, but you know how they always say 7 is the number of perfection, you know, and because in scriptures you can see many places in the Bible where 7 is a significant number. That's the word, a significant number. And then the child got healed, and not healed, came back to life, and Elisha told Gehazi to go and call his mother, and the mother saw the child. And one thing that also stood out to me in the last verse 37, was that the woman bowed to Elisha. This woman did not say because she was so wealthy. This did not say because she had been housing Elijah or she had housed him the occasions that he had been in her city. There was still reverence and gratitude. And I think this is one thing we ought to learn as believers, that no matter the heights that God takes us to, when we receive help, we can still show gratitude in whatever we deem. Like, for example, now, if, let me say, someone does something for you, you can say thank you, but then you can also say thank you very much. I am so grateful. This is something that I'm telling you, I learned it. Like, I would say maybe 7-8 years ago. This is a habit that, you know, God has helped me to cultivate, in truly showing gratitude. When someone does something for you, as little as buying your daughter a gift, doing something, you send them a heartfelt message. Our world, we're so short-fused and so shabby that sometimes people do things, well, thanks, babe. You can actually show gratitude. And I don't mean faking it. I mean, the same way you are feeling grateful in your heart, express it to that person. It's not until somebody's child dies. Even just normal benevolence that someone shares with you, or someone does something for you, or someone says something to you that impacts you, you show gratitude. You say, thank you very much. I've been blessed by this. Thank you very much. You know, I really needed this outfit and you came through for me. You know, things like that. Another lesson that I wanted to say earlier was also the fact that when Elisha, this prophet, used to come through our city, the Bible never said that the woman scoffed or said that maybe this one every time it's passing through my city, that's also chop. You know, sometimes you actually do good for somebody, but you be like, oh, he's now made it a habit. And this is how a lot of us rob ourselves of our blessings. So maybe you drop somebody at church, or you pick somebody up at church, and you're not be like, is it every Sunday I'll be dropping you? Is it every day I'll be picking you? You cannot go and look for public transport. We are spoiling the person. I'm just using real life examples that can appeal to you and I that are watching, because we're not in the time of Professor Elisha again, you know. But you might start being like, the person is over abusing your benevolence. But no, the woman did not think that. She actually saw it as an opportunity to even upgrade the person's blessing. And that for you in this scenario can be like, you know what, how much is your bus pass? You know, do you want me to pay for it? Or if it's not maybe transportation, maybe if it's something else, maybe like look for a way, especially when it's in your capacity, you know, going out of your way to make someone's life easy. And that's one thing I really learned from the life of the Shunammite woman, that not only was this prophet, you know, coming in and out through the city and she feeding him, she spoke to her husband and said, you know, let's upgrade our help. Let's create a room in the house and house this man. And this is how a testimony came through. And also, even the fact that the boy died and he was resurrected, I'm sure it will strengthen our faith in God as a child of God. So that's basically the lessons from the life of the Shunammite woman that I wanted to share with you. I'm sure there are other things that maybe you, when you're reading, you might also, you know, pick up from the story. But these are the ones that I thought to share in this length of time for this video. Let me see, is there anything else I wanted to say about this woman? No. So I'm going to leave you with a couple of points. Is that work hard, let God bless the works of your hands so that you can be able to bless other people. 1. 2, when you see a need, even you are even looking out for a need, try to fulfill it. And 3, when you fulfill that need, if there's a way you can even elevate how you can even help that person even further, take advantage of it. And 4, the fact that she actually discussed with her husband before doing it, Also sharing with your loved one, your significant other, before you even do anything, no matter how noble the thing is. And 5, speaking positivity even in the face of adversity. It is well, like she said. And 6, wisdom. I missed it. She applied wisdom by not telling her husband that the child was dead. Maybe when the child now went, maybe that's when he noticed it, but she never said to him. She just said it is well. She never said he was dead or he was alive, because that kind of thing, if she indeed had told him he was dead, he would not be asking, today is not Sabbath day, She just said it is well. So that's another thing, applying wisdom, knowing when to talk, and knowing when maybe the person's faith is not as strong as yours. If you go and tell them, the person just say, yeah, I want to cool, they'll go and pronounce even more negativity, knowing when to apply wisdom. And also another thing is just not being what's the English word now? Not being skeptical to the positive prophecies that God has given unto us. This is one, I would say, one developmental area that I would have seen from the life. The fact that she said, do not deceive me, but she still received the blessing. So it doesn't mean there's an excuse for you to doubt all the good prophecies or all the unbelievable prophecies. Just like Sarah in the Bible, that you will laugh and say, oh, now so, or you will scoff. No, it's not for you to follow them in that path. The Bible did not say that we should go and be imitators of evil. The Bible says, follow those who through faith have obtained the promises of God. So I pray that this video has blessed you. I pray that you are enlightened. I pray that you now know more. So once you hear somebody saying it is well, you now understand the spiritual significance behind that statement. So yeah, make sure you like this video, you leave a comment, you share this video to your loved ones, and yeah, that's about it. I don't have anything else to say. I don't have anything to say. So yeah, yeah, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, stay blessed. Bye bye.